Welcome to episode 2 of Brainstorm. I'm Anna Tizard, and today I'll be talking about some deep and very personal ideas you can explore that I think can help enrich anything you ever write or create ever again. And then it'll be time for another zany brainstorm using the surrealist word game of Exquisite Corpse. Seriousness and silliness never held hands quite so tightly as they will today. Have you ever asked yourself why you write or create? I mean, really sat down and thought about it, or went for a walk just to pace it out and think it through? You might think the answer is so obvious, what's the point in even asking it? You enjoy it, it's fun, exciting. As a writer, you get to create new worlds or characters that other people might get to experience too. And there's that enormous sense of satisfaction when you've edited something to perfection. But if you write most days of your life, or find yourself thinking about writing a bit every day, if you really have a passion for it, there are likely to be more reasons hidden back there, perhaps in your unconscious mind. Today, I'm going to suggest that those reasons are useful, even practical. I think they contain the seeds of insight that will help inspire you and take your writing or creativity to a whole new level. I realise now that I'm claiming that inspiration is inspiring, but it is. You might not believe that you have these extra hidden reasons for writing that are worth mulling over, but I would argue just thinking about what's important to you, what your real values are, what you'd like most to put out into the world, and that's not necessarily just about writing, it's about your whole life. This in turn can give you a new focus. I've experienced that. I can vouch for it. It works. Now, there are some really good motivation speeches on the internet by various people, often actors, usually given at graduation ceremonies, and they can get you into the mood for thinking about this. The one that made a difference to me is by Jim Carrey, which I'd recommend looking up if you really want to delve into this, because he has such an unusual take on it. He likens it, working out what you do creatively, to defining the church of. He asks, what is the essence of what you are bringing to other people? How can you serve other people? And he suggests trying to work out what your unique church is. He realised as he was growing up that he was becoming this comedian to try and distract his mum from her illness and her pain. So his was the church of freedom from concern. So you can see where he's going with this idea. He distracts people or tries to make them feel better about their lives through his comedy. And he brought that with him into his whole career. It flavoured everything he did and still does. It sounds like a strange way to think about it, but I found it a really useful exercise. However you choose to get there, having a defined purpose or a clearer sense of why you write or create can really help open you up to new ideas. It's weird because it might sound like a narrowing down of things if you're saying, well, I write because I want to bring this specific feeling or atmosphere into the world, or I'm really fascinated by these particular ideas or situations that seem to crop up in most of my stories, and I want to see where they take me and what they tell me. It's quite possible that if I'd only considered my purpose for a short while, without deciding to go for a walk, and then making sure I wrote down as much as I could on it, then that second example, I might have settled on that. The one about, so I'm really fascinated by these particular ideas that keep cropping up, and I want to see where they take me. Because that actually describes part of the psychological process of writing a new idea. You follow a little spark out of sheer fascination and curiosity and see where it takes you. So this one might ring true for almost any writer. But is it your ultimate purpose for writing? Does it go far enough? You have to go quite deep on this. Take your time to really pull out your best reasons, your grandest reasons for creating. Because what you create is a form of communication to other people. Readers will hopefully read your stories someday and be taken somewhere, feel something, experience something they've never experienced before. I'm going to share something quite personal with you. The essence of my purpose in writing, as much as I can explain it. Maybe I could call it the Church of Imaginative Power, but that doesn't quite say it all, even though Jim Carrey's exercise has helped me get as close as I have to defining this part of me. I feel like there's so much in life that seems to try and shrink who we are, our sense of who we are and what we're here for. As we get older, it feels like we spend a lot of time doing chores, jobs full of admin that doesn't really matter, and all this menial stuff crowding in on us seems to shrink our view of ourselves because it's what we do, what we have to do with a lot of our time. But I want to open people up to a grander view of themselves as part of something bigger, and to remember the potential they have. There's something else going on beneath the surface of normal life, and personally I find stories to be the best way to revive that feeling, which in turn might lead us to a place where we can experience it for real, in real life. Does this all sound a little bit vague? These things are notoriously difficult to describe, to completely encapsulate in a way that satisfies. But I honestly think this is just the nature of higher truth stuff. And if you do get it right, it might even sound cheesy, but that's just the way it is. We just have to accept that. Put it this way though. If I could explain it all in a way that totally satisfied what I want to say to you right now, then I probably wouldn't need to write stories and novels, would I? Where there's an urge, there's an incompleteness. Where there's a hunger, there's something that wants to be satisfied, that can't be immediately satisfied. So I'm glad I can't explain it perfectly, because if I could, maybe I'd get it out of my system, and that might be the end of it. This is quite profound, I realise that. This is partly why it's hard to ask yourself the question. You feel like you're wading through clouds, these vague shapes that can never be absolutely defined, and you might even feel quite silly reaching for them. But this is partly why it's such a great exercise, just to try and see what you can find. Why are you creative? What's your unique stance on the world? What are you trying to find through your writing? If you decide it's just for entertainment, so I'm making inverted commas right now with my fingers, which I realise is not necessarily helpful on a podcast, but there's no such thing as just here, because entertainment still means giving a kind of joy to other people. It's up to you if you want to explore where that joy comes from and see if knowing where that joy comes from might help you better define what you're about and what your writing's about. It might be worth exploring. And of course, there's also a writing prompt here. I couldn't leave you without a writing prompt. The better you get to know your passion, or a memory that sparked it all off for the first time, or just what it is you're trying to say through your stories, you could try writing a character who has that same passion, except maybe they have a totally different way of going about it. Or they might have the essence of your passion, but instead it's transferred onto something else like sword fighting or goblin collecting or something. Give it a go, it's worth trying. We often do this unconsciously with character building, picking out aspects of ourselves or bits of memories and then blending them with other personality traits and experiences we've never had. So why not decide to do that consciously with something as big as your passion? I said there would be psychology of writing in this podcast, but really you are the best psychologist of yourself. All I can offer are prompts, but sometimes that's all you need to set you off on your journey. And if your journey is all the richer, then your stories and characters will be too. We write what we know, but we also write what we reach for. That's not always knowledge. It's the mystery at the heart of it all. Well, if that was a little bit heavy for episode 2, never fear, because it is now time for the Socks of Destiny. That's right, it is time to play Exquisite Corpse. The socks are bulging with little bits of paper, bulging with possibilities. As ever, thank you to everyone who's been sending entries through my Play Exquisite Corpse page at annatizard.com. Let's see if your words come up this time. Now, if you want to use this as a brainstorming exercise yourself, please feel free to pause the podcast whenever I've pulled out a complete set of 5 entries. So when we have a complete sentence, you never know where any of these results may take us. Hopefully down the creative rabbit hole. So I am reaching for the first describing word. A word from Mariah. Impressionable. Let's go for a noun, see what that matches with. This is from, it's a Twitter ID, Lady Karma. Samurai. An impressionable samurai. Sounds interesting. So let's try for an action. Mariah again. Wrote a novel about. Very creative samurai. Let's try for another describing word. This is another Twitter ID, I think, called Life is a Gala. And the describing word is scintillating. So let's try for our final noun and see what we've got. Right, this is from Andy Burrows, one of the original members of the Exquisite Corpse gang many years ago. Investigator. So we have the impressionable samurai wrote a novel about the scintillating investigator. I think this calls for some green tea. So I've got a little pot here that's been brewing on the side. Give that a stir. Right. Okay. So while it's tempting initially to work out, to focus on the action, wrote a novel about, I don't think we can really know that until we've worked out who these characters are. Impressionable samurai. That's interesting. I'm not quite sure what to do with that. Scintillating investigator. Is this a private investigator with a camera hence the flish flash, causing her to be scintillating. That could work. Or perhaps, so she's either a private investigator or an investigative journalist. Again, the camera is the source of the flashing. So she's following around this samurai. Not quite sure why he's impressionable, but maybe we'll come to that. Or maybe not. Let's cheat and see if we can find a way around this. So the samurai's on some kind of secret mission, going around with his sword, maybe trying to find someone, but constantly he's being tailed by this annoying investigator who keeps taking photographs. And obviously she's going to write some sort of article about him, which is not good for the samurai because he's on a secret mission, but he just cannot shake off this investigator. So perhaps the samurai writing a novel about the investigator is the ultimate revenge. It's like, you're going to write an article about me or some blog somewhere. I'm going to find out about you and write an entire novel about you. I'm not sure, but I do quite like the idea. It seems quite silly of a samurai creeping around in the dark, trying to get on with a secret mission, and then constantly in the background you've got this private investigator or a journalist. There's something here. It could be a comedy. It could be quite dark. Who's going to kill who? Flashing in the darkness between, is it the sword or is it the camera? Yeah, okay. Well, let's just try another one then. So let's try for a new describing word. We have got, this is from Lady Karma again, dark. Let's go for a noun. This is somebody called Biggles. Griffin. Okay. Action. An action sock. Get right to the bottom there. Oh, I thought I was scrambling, and this is again from Biggles. Hunted. So the dark griffin hunted. There's a lot of pursuit going on here in these exquisite corpses. So next describing word. So this is from, it's another Twitter ID, Pedrome Prompt. Actually, I have to say in the last one I pulled out a word or two from this person, and I pronounced it wrong. It is Pedrome Prompt because that's short for palindrome prompt, because this guy, who is amazing, writes palindromes, like whole sentences that can be read both ways, that they're the same way forwards as they are backwards. Got to find him on Twitter. Anyway, cheese loving is this describing word. Okay, right, cheese loving. What was cheese loving? Final noun. Right, this is from Lewis D. Beekeeper. Okay, so the dark griffin hunted the cheese-loving beekeeper. Okay. Again, I feel inclined to draw in on who these characters are, particularly the cheese-loving beekeeper. What is going on there? If they're a beekeeper, then she obviously likes honey, but she also likes cheese a lot. She seems to like things that go on toast. Does this have significance for this story? Whereas the dark griffin, I mean, this is a mythological creature. It comes from somewhere completely different, another world to someone who's just obsessed with things you can put on toast. Why would the dark griffin hunt a cheese-keeping lover, a cheese-loving beekeeper? Maybe it's fascinated by the bees, or the spreads and condiments and things that they put on toast. I mean, this is a bit strange. It's very food related. I think we had a food related one last time, actually, episode 1. But a dark griffin, like I say, this feels like they come from a very different world, and perhaps in this old-fashioned country-style kitchen that the beekeeper has, because they live in the countryside, they keep bees. Maybe even they keep cows because they want to make cheese as well. This is an old cottage with an old-fashioned kitchen, and perhaps there's a cupboard that she never goes into because there's just something not quite right about it, or maybe she's heard scuffling noises there from time to time, and she thinks perhaps there's mice or something, and so she keeps it locked shut because she doesn't want to let the mice in if that's their only entry into her home, potentially. But what is actually happening is it's a portal to another world where there are scarier mythological creatures, griffins no less. And one day the griffin, drawn by these gorgeous smells of perhaps cheese melting on toast, scrabbles its way through and opens the portal into the beekeeper's kitchen. And then what happens? Well, the dark griffin is hunting this beekeeper, so it could end quite badly, unless the beekeeper very quickly and niftily offers the griffin some cheese on toast. Oh dear. Again, this seems a very playful, silly story, but then it's the nature of the bizarre can lead you down that road. If we're just looking on the surface of this story, but really it could be a dark one. The beekeeper's being hunted by a mythological creature from a portal beyond their kitchen. So yeah, I mean, if you find a reason why, what is the power of cheese or the power of bees that causes the griffin to hunt this person, let me know. And let me know if you come up with any further story ideas for this. I might have a go myself, see if I can develop these a bit further. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the game of Exquisite Corpse and all the wild and weird things I've said about searching for your purpose. Thank you for listening. Please do share the podcast, comment, subscribe, and yeah, have a great week. Take care. Until next time, go forth and be inspired.